So we didn't really pay that much attention to that. We heard this is just general market rule. Everyone says that about their competitors or even partners. So we heard this many times about our other partners, but I still gave a call to my contacts at Bresh and I shared this information with them. They were very surprised. First they said it was bullshit and they have plenty of cash in the bank and all those great games, but afterwards they actually walked away from finalizing the deal, so I didn't hear from them for a long time, and although Bresh remained in business until November 2008, so for another few months. And then I met those two people I spoke to at Bresh. That was about 1 year later, and they said that only after I had called them, so they learned from me about the problems in their company, and they spoke to their top management. They didn't admit having problems, but still they got this feeling, and they started noticing things, and they started looking for a new job. But they stopped negotiating with us too because they didn't want us to lose money. So I believe this is an example of how sharing information and being open and transparent can help you in, well, in this case helped us save a lot of money. If we signed that deal and made that payment, we'd lose probably several $100,000 at least. And then another case is, this is, I can't name the partner here, but this happened after the crisis. The market changed and we had to renegotiate a number of deals that we signed during the market peak. And there was one deal with one of our key partners that we signed in 2007 that looked very high after the crisis. And it took us only one meeting that lasted maybe for 1 hour or so to reach an agreement where they would provide us an $800,000 reduction on the contract that was signed a year before, or even a year and a half before. They did not have any formal obligation to do this, but they knew the market well, and they knew we were in trouble, so they wouldn't feel right if they didn't help us. So I think this is, if you remember from my previous slide, this is the care for your partner coin, so, but this worked the other way around this time. And then the final one is the AAA project. We signed a deal in 2007 with a French developer for Russian market for a very promising AAA game with a 10 million euro budget. But of course, Russian deal only provided a fraction of the financing for the full budget, and the developer still needed to find a global publisher who would finance the rest. As part of the deal, we paid the total amount of guarantee upfront, so we paid them 100% upfront, and they used this money to build a prototype of this game to then pitch it and sell it to a publisher. And they came close, they came very close to a publishing deal at some point, but I think then the crisis happened, so that deal didn't happen, and the project went on hold, which pretty much means canceled. And I guess we had a choice about either to go to court and try to get our money back or find some other way. So we chose another way. We just kept talking to them and asking how the game was doing, and they, at some point they said the game is fully canceled. And what they did next was very unexpected for us. They paid us back the full amount, and they even paid a little more. They made mistakes, so we need to return part of that payment back. So this is all. I think this last case demonstrates the power of communication. So if you communicate well, it's often more efficient than going to court, but not always, of course. So this is it for me. Thank you very much. I hope I didn't bore you.
I guess I'm the last one left, and I feel like I could talk for a long time based on what other people said. A couple things I just wanted to mention before I get into what I prepared to say, and one is that there's another option between licensing a property or developing your own, and that is to acquire an IP. And as we were talking, and actually, it turns out I'm on the same flight to Warsaw tomorrow as Nikolai is, and I'm changing planes and going to Sofia, Bulgaria, where my client is making the Conan the Barbarian film. You print out my ticket too? And what I found interesting was that back in 2002, the people that created Gamersgate, who were longtime clients of mine, called me up and they said, we're trying to buy an IP that we think would have some worldwide pizzazz, and we'd like to find out, we've been trying to find out who owns Conan the Barbarian, and we can't find it out. Can you figure it out and see if you can buy it? And within a year, we had bought that property, and we only paid a couple of $1 million for it, not much. And I compare that with, we sold the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in October for about $61 million. So there are bargains to be had if you buy a property cheap. And we've now got the feature film. We have the Funcom Age of Conan MMOG. We had a video game with Conan. We have all sorts of toys, etc. And in the very short time, my clients more than made back that couple of $1 million that they paid for it. And they've got a property that is recognized worldwide. So that is another option. Instead of licensing, think about maybe some old, this one thing we do is go out and some old video games that might have been successful in the past. It's interesting, I've been involved with both Atari and Acclaim, where the Infogrames went out and bought the Atari trademark because they thought it had value. Howard Marks went out and bought the Acclaim trademark because they thought it had value. Not sure that either one was right, but they got them cheap and they have a name. But anyway, let me get to what I wanted to talk about today. And I was thinking about what could I say in my 10 minutes here on the stage, and I was thinking about the 6 or 7 different Russian publishers or developers that I've represented in the last 5 years or so. And what are some of the common problems that they've run into? And they're really the same kinds of problems that developers and publishers all around the world run into. And I thought I would just take some time and kind of hit on some things